Thank you, Samantha. Our last speaker is Vicky Truder, also a 2018 SSP Fellow. And I'm hoping the 14% battery will get you through your slide.
Okay, I'll work on it. Hi, everyone. Good to be here. I work for Taylor & Francis's co-publishing program based in South Africa, in Cape Town. Our office is predominantly dedicated to a co-publishing program. We work with 3 co-publishers. They're all local publishers in South Africa that we partner with. And together we publish a portfolio of about 65 journals in total, all based in and about Africa. So how did I land up here? Surprise, surprise, MA in English. I worked in a library and a literary museum part-time for a while, then went to South Korea and taught ESL, and landed up in a development editor role at OUP Southern Africa, working in law textbooks, which, it was a good introduction to publishing, but I soon realized that I really missed academia a lot, similar to Kristen, kind of wanted to be in that world, but not quite. I wanted to kind of circle it, if possible. So I took a shot in the dark and started looking for a journals publishing job in South Africa, which is not as easy as it sounds because the industry there is tiny. That was lucky. So in terms of my role, on one side, I work in submissions and peer review systems by configuring the systems and providing training and workshops for editors. And on the other side, I act as a production editor to a portfolio of co-published titles. Other than that, I provide day-to-day support to our co-publishers to make sure that everything is working as it should. And I'm the only peer review / production person in our very small regional office. So there's a lot of crossover in my role, and I land up working a lot with our editorial colleagues and kind of also, in a way, doing some of the editorial duties. So I go to a lot of editor meetings and conferences, and I weigh in on financial meetings. I wasn't originally supposed to do that, but I do that now. So moving on to the challenges, the first is trying to bridge the regional, global, north-south divides. So although we've come very far in recent decades, I think Africa as a continent still has a very long way to go in terms of research outputs. And one of the major problems is that South African-based authors and journals are the most represented on the continent. So part of our task is to try and change that. The second thing is maintaining relationships with our co-publishers. Fundamentally, they are our partners and not our suppliers, so we have to work with them as partners. They have their own policies, their own production workflows, their own crazy bureaucratic systems. So there's a great challenge in finding a mutually beneficial way of working with them, which means continuous negotiation and conversation. The next thing is technological difficulties, huge connectivity issues, and a lack of resources. We have 2 editors based in Kenya who actually share a computer, and one who we almost exclusively contact via WhatsApp. 11%. Okay.
You're good. 20.
Okay. So we also have a great resistance to system uptake. We have one editor who insists on delivering final copy in person via flash drive to our co-publishers typesetting team. I'm not going to really go over the exciting aspects of the role over there, but I have 3 points here about. There are 3 reasons why I think I'm happy to stay where I am. I think that's an important thing to know about one's own role. The first thing is office culture. So I work in a really small office with 7 lovely people in a very beautiful city, and I have flexi time and the ability to work from home, which goes a long, long, long way for me. The second thing is that I'm studying a master's in digital curation part-time, and it's sponsored by Taylor & Francis. So my dissertation is a knowledge management sometimes the project for our co-publishing program, and that is, although incredibly time-consuming, really motivating. Yeah, I'm getting a lot out of that, really enjoying it. Finally, my job is made interesting by sometimes the sheer ridiculousness that I sometimes encounter. At a meeting with the African Journal of Herpetology recently, just in the middle of the meeting, the editor asked me how squeamish I am. I was immediately skeptical because he's a scientist and I don't know how to react to that question. Anyway, curiosity made me answer not at all, and the next thing I knew, there was a human finger in a jar of formaldehyde placed on the desk in front of me. I'm up. Time's up. You can ask me about the history of the said finger later if you want. Thank you.
I just want to give another round of applause to all of the speakers. Thank you so much. We have a few minutes for Q&A. Does anyone in the audience have a question?
I can tell you, it's a very cool story, actually.
I knew that question was coming.
Yeah. Can you all hear me? I can hear myself now. So the previous editor of the journal, he worked for a snake park and he got bitten on the finger by a puff adder, and so he needed to have his finger amputated. And then he kept the finger in a jar with an engraving and the date of when the finger was amputated. And he used to use it as a scare tactic for people that he took on tour around the snake park. Like, don't go up to a puff adder, this is what's going to happen to you. And then the journal had a fundraiser at some point, and he put the finger on auction. And somebody bought it. Well, they what do you do in an auction? You bid for it. Yeah, somebody bid for it, won it, paid for it, realized that he lived in America and could not transport human body parts over borders. And so then the current editor who I was having the meeting with, who had had too much beer at that point, bought the finger and created a Facebook page for it. Yep, that's it.
Great. Any other questions? It's hard to top that one. Heather?
Take a chance. Can you guys hear me? Or are we recording?
We are recording, actually. That's a good point.
Hi, so I'm Heather Staines from Hypothesis, and we are a remote organization, and I have worked remotely in a lot of different companies over the years, both as an acquisitions editor, product manager, business development person. And I like to ask a question when I go to conferences about increasing diversity through consideration of remote workers, but I've had people say, well, if you're just starting out in your early career and you're in a remote office, how can you learn from colleagues? And so I know some of you said you work remotely. Is that a challenge for you? And even some of you who are in smaller remote offices, how does that work for you or not work? Or I didn't see anyone put it up as a challenge. So.
Hi, Jessie again. So I do work in a remote office, and it can be challenging, especially being early career. I've only been in this position for 2 years and in scholarly publishing for 3. And so I think a lot of that is being proactive, so taking advantage of the time when I do have the ear of someone on Skype or on the phone, asking the questions that I think will be most beneficial, not only for my immediate job or my immediate task, but for my own personal development, and making sure that I don't just ask yes/no questions, but why questions, and how does this fit into the larger scheme. And so a lot of the onus is placed on me, I think, but then making sure that I remind colleagues when I do have the opportunity to have face-to-face time to say, I'm really interested in furthering my career, how can I do that? Just be fairly blunt about it. And that's really allowed me, people are normally very willing to help out and share once they realize, oh, you're interested in learning about this aspect of the business. I'm happy to partner you up with this individual who can help.
Alice, maybe.
So as of the past couple months, been working from home, and office environments are great because you get to collaborate with a lot of colleagues who are sort of just sitting there and can come up to you. But I think that remoting offers a specific opportunity to sort of define who your virtual colleagues are day to day. So you can participate in industry groups. Video chat is really helpful. So I think it's sort of like a different opportunity, and depending on how you balance it, it could actually allow you to design the office of your choice, colleagues of your choice anyhow. So.
I know we have at least one more question, but I'll add one point to that. At Cell Press, we are very much based out of the Cambridge, Mass office, but we're part of a global organization, and we do have people all over the world. And so one of the things that we found is that by enabling people to work from home or move away has been a great way to retain talent and really foster people's career development. We do, I think, struggle organizationally to make it work, and we really try to build awareness. And one initiative is that there's a monthly coffee break for all the work from home people, where they get together through a Skype call and drink coffee, well, virtually. So there are steps that we try to take to sort of make sure that people are well integrated and that they're acknowledged in meetings and that we don't forget about the people on the pod. Yeah.
Well, I'm Robert Harrington from the American Mathematical Society. I'm also chef on the Scholarly Kitchen, and so this is a question about that as a resource for your development in an early career publishing positions. And maybe it's too big of a question to answer now, but I'd like to encourage you to sort of contact me or others on the kitchen with how do you find it a useful resource, and how may we improve it if you do use it. How may we improve it to actually serve your needs better? If it's because we're going through a little bit of sort of thinking about how it should evolve, and how can we serve early career publishing professionals better with it.
Chris?
Thanks for that great question, Robert. I'm taking this question because one of the first tasks assigned to me when I started as an editorial assistant at Wiley was to get the email alerts from the Scholarly Kitchen, and every single day when I got into work, read the Scholarly Kitchen. And it really helped me to get my head around the industry much faster than if I were just kind of plugging along. It was a great resource, and it was 5 years ago, so open access was kind of raging like a volcano erupting almost, and I was like, what's going on? Why are you all freaking out? But it was such a useful way to get sort of natural language and good, pithy, witty writing about what was going on in the industry, to be able to sort of make sense of it and just feel like I knew what the temperature was on things, who were major players, what are the relationships between the different publishers and the different industry players, because once you jump into a big organization like Wiley, it's really difficult to see outside of that. And so that's, I found really, really helpful as an early career and just starting, that the Scholarly Kitchen actually gave me information that otherwise would have taken much, much longer. So I think what you guys are doing is great and fantastic. But certainly I'm sure the Early Career Development Committee, maybe, you guys we'll have a conference call or something and spitball some ideas, or even while we're here, we'll all get together for coffee or something and just kind of talk about what we might like to see. But I think that it's good that you are even asking that, but it already is a really fantastic resource.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Hi, same there, but one thing what I do, instead of reading it straight away, I let it sit for a few days, because where it really starts to get interesting is to see the comments.
Yeah.
Because the post is just a personal commentary or somebody's view, and then it's like, now what are they going to say? And you have all this discussion, but you don't really get alerted on the discussions themselves. So maybe as part of the alerts, you could also include comments on previous posts or something like that, because that's where you learn to see all the different viewpoints and the discussions that kind of loosening up and gives you a better perspective on the topic.
Great.
Thank you.
So we're at noon, and I believe that means lunchtime. So thank you all again to the panelists and to everyone in the audience.
Thank you.
Yep.